Hi, I'm Mimika Cooney and welcome to Mimika TV, the place to build a brilliant business. Our show is brought to you by Capture School, the place for creatives to learn about business, marketing and social media. The easy-to-follow online video courses and interviews will help you save time, make more money and give you the freedom to do the things you love. Go to captureschool.com and sign up today. Today we're talking about how to silence that inner critic. Danielle Watson is a global provocateur, professional muse, and the creator of the Purse Process. As an anthropologist who doesn't like digging in the dirt, she's an expert at demonstrating how to unite conflicting circumstances to create something uniquely your own. Danielle's knack for distilling heaps of data into life-changing insights, along with her affinity for dresses, red lipstick, and all things girly, have made this unlikely anthropologist a pint-sized inspiration to women everywhere. So welcome, Danielle. Welcome to Mimika TV.
Thank you, Mimika. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to chat to you because I heard and saw you on another podcast. It's like, ooh, that's kind of fun because you have something you call the Purse Process. So I know that guys out there are like, oh, really, this is for women. Well, I'm sure you can get a lot out of it because today we're talking about something that I think we all deal with, wouldn't you say? The inner critic.
Absolutely, absolutely. And guys, you want to watch because this is kind of like a life hack that you can use to understand the women in your life.
Exactly. So if you're looking for someone special or you want to get into the psyche of your ideal client, because most of the ideal clients who make these kind of decisions on boutique products like photography and design are women. So This will be a good way for us to figure out how to get inside their heads. So let's start off, before you actually tell us about the Purse Process, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to being where you are now.
Well, you know, like many entrepreneurs out there, my journey was a little bit of a meandering one. I tried this, I tried that. You know, I just got to a point in my life where I felt that hole inside my heart where what I was doing wasn't working. And so I was trying different things. I was getting coaching. I was trying to get better at what I was already doing. But the better I got at it, the more miserable I became. And that was really the signal for me that I needed to take a look at, okay, what is it that I really want to do? And just allow myself to go full out for that. And pull out all the stops and find out once and for all, could I really do something that was completely unique to the world that no one had ever heard of before, just because I was enthusiastic about it. And it turned out that I could, and I created the Purse Process.
Well, that is a great story because I know a lot of people in my audience have said that, you know, I'm in a job that I hate and my heart's really yearning for something else. And even though I'm good at what I do, in actual fact, I got an email this morning from a lady who's a nurse, who's been a nurse for 25 years because her father said that she should be in the nurse and be a nurse practitioner. And she's yearning to do something else. But we have this inner conversation with ourselves that kind of throws us off, right? And you as an anthropologist, talk to that about how that kind of journey from understanding being there, understanding that process, how it kind of got you to what you're doing now.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Most of the people I meet and all of the women I work with, they have that same capability where they're really good at their job. They're really good at what they do. And so we have this sense of doubt that, well, if I'm really good at it, doesn't that mean that I'm meant to be doing it? And I myself got caught up in that. So when I got to that point where I decided just because I'm good at something doesn't mean I couldn't be amazing at something else, I took a look at all the skills and interests I had. And my anthropology background was, you know, from college. And as you can see by looking at me, I've been out of college for a while. But that mindset that I learned, that lens through which to view the world of anthropology and archaeology was something that I carried forward with me. And so I took a look at that skill set and thought, well, if I don't like digging in the dirt, how else could I use this set of skills? And as you said in the intro, I'm a girly girl. And to me, a purse is just like a collection of items that an archaeologist would dig up out in the desert, and it tells a lot about a person and their personal culture. And it was just a natural fit for me. It was a way for me to take two very different aspects of my personality, you know, the dirty archaeology, anthropology, live in a mud hut with a bunch of people who don't speak their same language, and then my love of girliness, purses, lipstick, and bubble baths, and marry them together to create something really unique.
So that's an interesting process, that even though you've got a certain background, it doesn't mean you have to stay that way, because we don't have to be stuck in a box. We can kind of determine where we're going. And that is true. Like, look, thinking of my own journey, like I often ignored the signs. Like, you know, you have this pull towards something that you feel like you're meant to do something bigger in the world, or there's something else that you are very capable of doing. But I suppose it's that whole fear. So let's talk about the whole inner critic story and how you are able to address this, because just to let you know, part of this week's goodie giveaway is Danielle's Process Personality Profile. I know that's a word. And it's worth $250. Now, this is a really cool, fun thing to do. Now, tell us a little bit about the process and why it works so well.
Well, as I was researching humans and their handbags, I found that there were themes that emerged. And they were really obvious to me, but as I was describing them to the women whose handbags I was going through, they weren't really getting it. And so I looked around my world and I thought, well, what do people really like? They like to be put into categories. They like to be able to self-identify. And so I created the 4 process personality archetypes. And it's so great that we're talking about critics today, because they all have really critical sounding names. Their names are Dumpster Debbie, Vanishing Veronica, Absent Abigail, and Perfect Priscilla. And each one has her own set of gifts and challenges.
Right. So, I mean, definitely, I'm sure we're going to go through each of them. And what we want to realize is that, you know, we all kind of have this, I suppose that's the anthropology side. We do things without realizing that's just naturally the way we are. But sometimes taking a look inside helps us to figure out that even though you might have this negative self-talk, you think this is where you need to be, you can reprogram it. So Let's dive in. Let's start with the first one. What is Dumpster Debbie?
Dumpster Debbie is my personality profile who generally carries a pretty big handbag. We all know this woman, the woman who, when she opens her purse, just things come flying out of it. It's really heavy. It's probably weighing down her shoulders. She may even have neck problems from the weight of this bag. And when I see a woman who carries that sort of bag, what I know is that she has an enormous heart. She loves to care for people. She loves to love on other people and to always be helpful. But her inner critic is always telling her that she's not giving enough and that she needs to take care of others or they won't love her, things like that. And she really ends up devaluing herself in the eyes of others because of her constant need to please and support, rather than just recognizing that she is of value for who she is. And yes, it's wonderful to support and care for people, but she also needs to remember to care for herself.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the girl that everyone just keeps dumping on and giving her problems, and she's like, oh, sure, honey. So she never gives to herself. Yes. Okay, so how would Dumpster Debbie need to overcome that?
So the thing about a Dumpster Debbie, she has got to realize that she has this heart for a reason, and that she only needs to give it to people who are deserving of it. People who are also giving her love back. And she needs to recognize that it's okay to say no. It's okay to have boundaries. That's the biggest thing for a Dumpster Debbie, is recognizing boundaries, that she doesn't need to let other people dump on her, and it's actually not helping anybody, including herself.
Definitely. So she's got to reserve something for herself.
Yes.
So let's talk about, what is the next one? What is your next one?
The next one is Vanishing Veronica, and I'm imagining a lot of our viewers today fall into this category, because I find a lot of creative types fall into this Vanishing Veronica archetype. They are these amazingly creative, wonderfully colorful on the inside people, and they try to pass as normal human beings, as if they're just average achievers, and there's nothing special about them, because it feels a little bit scary that somebody might actually recognize all that they're capable of and call them out on actually doing something with that. Mm-hmm. And their inner critic is always saying, your stuff isn't good enough. What you can do isn't as special as somebody else. Or if you were really that talented, you'd be richer or more successful or receive more recognition by now.
Right. That definitely, I think, a lot of us especially us creatives, definitely have that all the time, no matter whether you're a guy or a girl. We all have that, I'm not good enough. Maybe when I get to them, then I'll be good enough, then people can get to know. So it's always almost like holding yourself back. Mm-hmm. So how would you say we would be able to overcome those Vanishing Veronica traits?
Well, the thing is to just let all that praise that people are already giving you in. When people are telling you that you're amazingly talented and that you're good at one thing and you're good at another thing, you are actually that talented, and you actually are that multi-talented. And the interesting thing about a vanishing Veronica is that when she gets clear that she actually is that talented and that multi-talented, and she brings all those things together, that's when you can create something really original and magical that the world has never seen before.
Right, so it's almost like just being true to yourself. Yes. And not worrying about what the rest of the world has to say to put you in a box. So yeah, those are some great ones. So let's talk about the next one. What's your next favorite one?
Absent Abigail. So Absent Abigail is somebody who tries to get by with as little as possible, and you can often recognize her because she'll carry a little wristlet size purse, or she carries no handbag at all, because she's trying to travel light and do things as simply as possible. And what I find is that somebody who's an Absent Abigail has sort of disconnected from that part of themselves that feels desire, and that feels that lighting up inside when they see something that just speaks to them. They've become disconnected from that because their inner critic is always saying, you know what, that's not practical, or that doesn't make sense, or I can't justify that expense. And so she ends up leading sort of just a colorless life, a life that's very practical.
Very mediocre.
Yes, exactly.
And that can be really frustrating, especially if you're not living up to what your potential is. So how would she be able to get more connected again?
Well, the thing is to look around for those things that you're constantly telling yourself no to, that come up over and over again. You know, maybe you saw something at the store in this beautiful color, and you're walking around town and you keep seeing that color over and over and over again. Listen to that sign and know that there is some part of your inner being, your soul, that is calling you to be connected to that. Allow yourself to experience beauty just for the experience of it, just for how it makes you feel. Allow yourself to do something that's a little bit impractical, because it makes you feel mischievous and alive inside.
Kind of add some more spark, right? So instead of just walking around like allowing yourself to where Dumpsters Debbie has to learn to say no, Absent Abigail has to learn to say yes more often. So that's interesting. So let's talk about the next one, which is the perfect Priscilla.
Perfect Priscilla. All right. So this is the lady that we all know who has to have the matching designer handbag and wallet. And her inner critic is always telling her that she needs to look like she has it all together, that she is perfect, that she has her I's dotted and her T's crossed. And if she were to let anybody know that she's actually human and imperfect, that nobody would value her anymore. Nobody would want to be with her. Nobody would want to buy from her. And that's a really tough place to be, you know, trying to be perfect all the time. It just simply isn't possible. And we spend a lot of energy that we could use loving other people and connecting with other people, trying to keep this facade up that we have it all together.
Right, because often we just think, we behave in a certain way thinking, well, this is what's expected of me. I know I hear this a lot from other moms as well, is because you've put other people in front of you, especially when you're taking care of a family and kids. Your own desires are like, okay, I've got to keep it all together, and if anyone knew the mess that's behind that door, oh my gosh, it'd be awful. So yeah, there's some really interesting concepts. So how would you say she would need to overcome her inner critic?
Well, for Perfect Priscilla, the best thing she can do is find one person or just a couple of people who she can just confess her imperfections to. So just, one vault who is not going to talk to other people she knows. Oftentimes a coach is a great person to use for this because they don't know any of your friends or family, and it's not possible they're going to accidentally spill over Thanksgiving dinner when they've had too much wine that you actually, left your child at home when you started to go to the grocery store or something like that. So find somebody who you can trust with those secrets, so that you can actually, own up to the fact that you are a human being who does things imperfectly. And you'll feel so much better not having to keep all that inside all the time.
Definitely. And I think, listening to all that, and again, I even feel like I'm a mix of a few. It's almost like some days I'm one, and then one day, depending on what you're doing and, like what hat you're wearing for the day, you can definitely have this personality profile but it's good to be aware of these things so you can kind of help yourself achieve what it is you want to achieve, because I'm sure whether you're creative or not, denying your inner self and what you really are destined to be is a really frustrating position to be in.
Absolutely. And you made such a great observation. We can swing between these different profiles. My profiles are based on research, but there's a little bit of me in every single one of them. I have been all of these, and we cycle through them. We generally have one that we sort of default to, but it's a great way to kind of examine yourself and saying, how am I operating right now? And is that the way I want to operate?
So there's always room for change. We can always take action and do things that enable us to take a little bit of one and into the other, so we can actually feel more free in what we do. So just to remind everybody, if you would like to have your own post-process personality profile worth $250, you've got to be in it to win it. So make sure to scroll below the video and enter our raffle copter giveaway. It's only live for 7 days, so you're going to make sure to take action now. And I'd love to know who you think you are. Like, if you're listening to this, whether you're listening on iTunes in the car, or whether you're watching on our blog, make sure to scroll below and let us know what profile you think you are. We'd love to hear what people's version is. If you had to say, looking at all the different personalities, what sort of takeaway tip could you offer them in terms of overcoming this inner critic?
Well, it's really fun to look through your handbag and see what it might reveal about who you're being and how you're behaving and how you're valuing yourself and what parts of yourself you're sharing and not sharing. But the real opportunity here is to take a look at your larger life and go, okay, well, if the things in my life represent who I'm being on the inside and how I'm behaving, how might the rest of my life be reflecting how I'm putting myself out there? And is that going to get me where I want to go? Is being a vanishing Veronica and hiding all of my gifts going to help me become a world famous photographer? And the answer is probably not. No. So let's take a look at that and start taking some actions that are more in alignment with the goals and dreams that we have for ourselves.
Definitely. So it's kind of being aware and then taking action, because as an anthropologist, I'm sure you've probably studied where you've seen behaviors, but wouldn't you say that behavior patterns can actually be changed?
Absolutely. When you bring consciousness to a behavior and you understand why you're doing it, it actually changes because you're inspired to change, rather than because you're motivated and you're trying really hard and you're making lists of all the ways you need to change. When you really understand on a deep level how a behavior isn't serving you, it can disappear in an instant. It doesn't have to be a lot of work.
So kind of like, what would you say would be actionable things, like maybe writing out goals, or what would you say would be an actual practical example they could do?
Yeah, you could absolutely write out some goals that you have for yourself and then compare them to your profile. When you download the post-process personality profiles, you'll get to learn a lot more about the profiles and how they sort of show up in your life. So write down your goals, compare that to the profile and say, okay, where is the misalignment here? And then set out some action steps for yourself of, okay, so I don't want to be invisible anymore, and I want people to really know me on a deeper level. So who can I call today and tell them, hey, I could help you with that? Something that maybe you've been hiding.
Right, so kind of just putting yourself out there, taking that first step, because to say the first step's always the hardest, but it gets easier after that.
It absolutely does. I promise you, it does get easier.
And I find myself, sometimes, you have a lot of this stuff going in your head, like this whole, should I, shouldn't I? Maybe just typing it out, like write yourself a letter. Sometimes I find, like when you're frustrated, just allowing yourself to vent. And I find, when you see something in paper, it's kind of like makes it more real, wouldn't you say? It's like, okay, I got to do something.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to identify you're crazy when it's in black and white. When it's running in your head, it seems semi-logical and like this might be a good way to go about things. And then when you write out your crazy thoughts, you look at them and you go, this is insane. This is not true. I am capable. I am able to do whatever I set out to do for myself. This has nothing to do with who I am or the goals that I have. And so just set it aside.
Definitely. Well, I think those are some awesome tips, especially if you're in that moment where you feel like you're struggling all alone, that nobody really knows what's going on inside, and that can be a really frustrating position to be in. But you can make it real. You can take those steps. So I'm super excited to see what everyone's responses are and what their profiles are. And as you said, you got a little bit of tips for everybody. One day you might veer to one, be more like one than the other, but it's good to be aware of these things so we can actually take action and reprogram our thinking and our words. Because definitely we need to be reminded of this all the time. So to remind everyone again, remember to sign up for our goodie giveaway, only 7 days, and make sure you tweet and let us know what you thought of it. Like, what was your takeaway tip? Scroll below in the video and give us your comments. I'd love to know what it is that you feel that popped out in today's show. And if you are listening on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, remember to subscribe. We'd love to be able to send you more of our feed. And if you're watching on YouTube or on our blog, make sure to subscribe and click to subscribe on our video feed. And if you want more freebie resources that I only share with my newsletter community, go to mimikacooney.com, and we have a freebies tab. We have everything from an ebook called Modern Marketing and a branding blueprint that I like to help our creative entrepreneurs overcome those things and put it in paper so it helps you get towards where you want to be in your business. And tell us where everybody can find you, Danielle. Where's the best place to get in touch?
Yeah, look for me at purseprocess.com. And if you go to that website, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a spot where you can put in a little bit of information and you'll get your free copy of the Purse Process personality profile. So even if you don't win the one-on-one profile with me, you can get the free version. It's so much fun to do with a group of girlfriends and a glass of wine. And you can all nail each other to the wall on which personality you are. You can also find me on Facebook, Purse Process, but definitely purseprocess.com is the best place where you can connect with me.
That'd be awesome. Well, we'll have all the links in our show notes. And remember to everyone to go and stalk Danielle on Facebook and tell her you saw her on Mimika TV. We love to know that our guests feel appreciated and spending their time. And I appreciate you spending your time with me to be able to share what it is that you do. And I'm so enthused to see a real sassy entrepreneur like yourself making it happen and changing your trajectory. So thanks again for sharing all your information with my audience. And I always like to wrap up with a bit of a pep talk, which is you need to believe in yourself. You are worth it. You can do what you love and be paid for living it. So thanks again, Danielle, and thanks everyone for watching. Until next time, take care. I'll write it down, otherwise I'll forget. All right, I need like a little clapperboard. I knew it was going to mess up sometime.